Well, it's great, and we get to meet obviously a lot of drummers, and we see, there's some local guys. I mean, usually me and Mike Mangini play every show, and there's some guys from every country, Zildjian endorsers, of course, who play before us. So we get to see a lot of drummers play, and the drum community is pretty much the same in every country. There's always enthusiastic drummers who want to come and see people play and hopefully learn something.
Yeah.
Musicality versus technique. So what's the question?
Because a lot of drummers pay a lot of attention in technique, and they leave the musicality behind. And we have.
Yeah, mostly what are your thoughts on that? How do you use your technique in a musical way?
Well, you need technique to express what you're going to say, like you do with a language. It depends what you want to say. If what you want to say is something really, really, really fast, then you're going to have a lot of technique. I don't usually imagine fast things. Right? So when I listen to a song for the first time, I don't hear myself playing really, really, really fast through it. I know there's lots of guys who have a lot more technique than me, and but I'm interested in what they have to say. Sometimes I don't like what they're saying, regardless of the technique, whether you have no technique or a lot of technique.
Yeah.
It's really about being musical and saying something interesting. You don't need a lot of technique to say something interesting.
Yeah, true.
But you need enough technique to say what you need to say in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
I wish I had a lot more technique with English language. But I probably could have said it better. You need a balance. You need to find a balance with everything. You need to find a balance with playing live. If you just play live all the time, it's too much. If you just work in a studio all the time, it's too much. If you play fast all the time, it's too much. Without some slow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't just fly high all the time. Otherwise it's meaningless. Without the sense of perception of depth, just flying at this height is the same as being on the floor. Without the dynamics of playing something simple, playing something complex, playing something slow, playing something fast, something loud, something quiet, with different colours, whatever you want to do. So, it's like when you're really hot, you want to get cold. And when you're really cold, it's too cold and you want to get hot. So the best is to find a balance. I try to find a balance. I don't always control that balance.
Yeah.
I don't always get asked to do 1 week in a studio and 1 week on tour and it's not as easy as that. Creatively, I prefer playing in a recording situation because I have more chance to be creative. Playing live, you can be creative to a degree. I can't rewrite the song, so I have to play the song. I can be a little bit creative with the drum fills, maybe a little bit creative in some areas, but it's not as creative as creating a new drum part from zero.
Yeah.
That's probably the most interesting thing to me. And on tour, it's not a very creative situation. I don't get a chance to play very much. I get 5 minutes to sound check, and there's no chance to sit there for an hour practicing. So I do have creative thoughts all the time, but I don't get a chance to explore them so much on tour as I do when I'm at home in my studio. And then if you spend a lot of time in the studio, you think, wow, it would be nice to go play live. Yeah, you should listen to everything. You know, I don't really see a lot of definition with genres. I don't really like genres because genres are a great excuse for someone to not listen to your album, right? And genres build a little fence around something. It puts up a border. Okay, this is metal, right? And the guys who just love metal are inside here, and anyone outside there is an idiot. And even inside a genre, people are fighting because they want doom metal, or they like speed metal, or they like or not just metal. You know, it could be jazz guys. Some guys just like bebop, right? And they hate all other types of jazz. I don't like the borders and the fences because, you know, we're all on this planet together, right? It's just music.
Yeah, of course.
It's just music, and I see the same thing between all music. I'm listening to the drummer. I want to hear a nice groove, a nice feel. I want to hear nice rhythm, a good sound, and some interesting ideas. I don't care if it's fast. I want to hear a good idea. If the good idea is to play fast, then it's a good idea. I'm not interested in just hearing speed or something that should be an Olympic event. I don't like drumming as a extreme physical sport. That's not me. You know, we're all different people. That's fine for other people. I'm not that kind of person. You know, your personality really is the biggest asset you have, or maybe it's not an asset, maybe it's a hindrance. And your personality will decide how you play. People play like their personalities.
Of course.
It's very easy. You don't need to understand other languages. I don't have to speak French to understand how Manu Katché plays the drums. I understand his character. It's very obvious to me by the way he plays. Steve Gadd, you can tell he's going to be a nice guy because he plays nice drums. You know what I mean? He doesn't talk all over you. You just know Steve Gadd is going to be one of the nicest guys in the world because you can hear it in his drumming. You know what I mean? And he plays the music. And he says nice things on the drums. I'm sure he's an interesting guy to talk to because he says interesting, profound, sometimes minimalistic things on the drums. And that's who he is. And you know, other drummers are like they are. They play like they talk. Well, I'm very. I didn't think I was a child prodigy. I didn't think I was particularly talented or gifted, but I was very observational, and I was good at solving problems. I was coordinated and determined. Probably those things are the things that have made me who I am. I made the books for me. I didn't make the books for anyone. They were just to record my ideas that I'd had for many years, so I could, you know,
remember them.
wipe the hard drive clean, reinitialize the hard drive, because after 8 or 9 years of working on the first book, Rhythmic Illusions, they were just my rhythmic ideas. I have all the ideas all the time. I'm a creative person. And at home, you know, I have a little kind of Zoom thing, and I record myself many times. I record myself playing whenever a new idea appears, which is the moment when I realise something new is happening. Okay, I can improvise and play. It's all things I've played before, it's just nonsense. I'm just playing, and maybe after 1 minute or 1 hour, I will play something and think, oh, hang on, what was this? This was nice. I've never played, this doesn't sound like me. This is something new. And then I try to understand what this rhythm is, and I might record it on a Zoom or a phone, or I will write it down. You know, I've got lots of stacks of music paper of drum ideas. And I got fascinated by the idea of how you could affect the audience by playing with the perception of time and downbeat.
Yeah.
Time being something that you could manipulate, sound like you're playing in a different tempo with metric modulation, or sound like you've moved the downbeat by displacing. So I started to collect these ideas. I wrote a column for a drum magazine in England called Rhythm, and I'm talking about 1989, 90, 91. And my ideas were coming together, and I thought, I've got enough here to really make a book. I just need to organise all the ideas into groups.
Yeah.
This belongs with this, and this belongs with this. But really, the books and the videos were just for me to finally record all those ideas, and then I could stop thinking about them, stop worrying about them. I don't go on stage and think, I must play a displacement. I must, I can do it, of course. And sometimes an idea will come to me. There's a lot of problem solving when someone presents you with a new song. Okay, you can play af, yeah, but that's really boring, and it's not unique, is it? I like to play nothing more than just straight groove. Af. It's everything I wanted, except it wasn't original.
Yeah.
I'm not the first person to play this groove, right? So if I can find a solution to the problem, if I can find a slightly different rhythm, which still grooves, which still serves the purpose of the song, which still gives the song functionality, but I can really design something interesting. Could be something very small or subtle.
Yeah.
Could be something really big and actually not subtle. If I can find something that I haven't heard another drummer play before, then I'm very happy.
Yeah.
And some of those things in the books that I wrote, like Rhythmic Illusions, Rhythmic Perspectives, some of them actually are quite useful tools, because sometimes you play something and you think, this is interesting, and then I write it out and I think, okay, now I understand what it is. Now let me write this out again 1/16 later, 2/16 later, or 3/16 later. Let me write this out again in triplets, because maybe there's something even more interesting in this rhythm, or something I could use in a song that I'm working on, and there's a section where the guy says to me, we need something new in this section here. What can you do? And that's when you need to be really creative.
Yeah.
That's when you need to have good imagination and good ideas. And sometimes I think, I could play, some idea I've had before, I might be able to recycle.
Yeah.
And when you use displacement and modulation, you can make, 100 variations of the same idea.
Yeah.
And they will sound like you've had 100 ideas, where in fact you've only had one idea. Well, you need control. Control is a lot more valuable than speed. Control is technique, really.
Mental control, maybe. Like not play everything,
Well, that's a question of taste. If I put a gold chain around my neck and I think it looks good, does it look better if I wear 10 gold chains? It's like, have you got any taste or not? Right? If one gold chain looks good, why not 30? I don't know, you choose everything, the food you eat, the clothes you wear, everything you say, you make decisions. You are what you decide to be. It's a big challenge. Not many bands have had 3 drummers before. But we're not 3 identical drummers. We're 3 very different drummers with 3 very different sounding drum kits, 3 different sets of influences and background and ability. So actually it's like having a much bigger sound palette. Because not only have we got more sounds 3 drum sets. You know, Pat's got a different kit to me, Bill's got a different kit to me, we've got different cymbal sounds, Pat's got a lot of metal and metal percussion and electronic percussion. Bill sometimes plays keyboards and electronic percussion. So we carefully choreographed what we were going to play. And really it's more about what you're not going to play.
Yeah.
Right? So sometimes if Pat is playing the ride cymbal and the snare drum and the bass drum, and Bill's playing, kind of fast hi-hat rhythms, then I might play tribal tom-toms, but only to, like you would program a drum machine.
Yeah.
It's like we've got a very big drum machine with lots of sounds and also lots of, different styles, different grooves.
Yeah.
Pat's got everyone's got a different groove, right? No 2 drummers play the same. So there's some parts of some songs which suit Bill more or Pat more or me more. So sometimes I'll say, okay, Pat should play this song or the first half of this song and I won't play.
Okay, yeah.
Which is sometimes the best part you can come up with is
Not to play.
not to play. And it's strange to be on stage and not play as a drummer.
Yeah.
But this is more like an orchestra.
Yeah.
So, if you play trombone in an orchestra, you don't play every song
All the time.
all the time.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of times where I'm sitting and I'm listening. I've got a good seat. I listen to King Crimson. It's great. I see the concert every night.
On stage.
On stage, I've got probably the best seat in the house.
Yeah.
So sometimes the best thing I can do is not play, and other times, we work out very elaborate parts where maybe I'm just going to play the hi-hat and snare drum and not the bass drum.
Oh yeah.
And it's difficult. It's really hard to hit a crash cymbal without a bass drum. It's really hard. It's really hard. So you need a bit of discipline to play 3 drummers at once.
Yeah.
And we started off rehearsing at my studio, and we had multi-track versions of the album. So we recorded the 3 drummers, and then we listened, and we said, maybe don't play this, or I'll play this, or if you're going to hit a crash here, I won't hit a crash here, and things like this.
A little rehearsal, huh?
Yeah, we did 7 weeks rehearsal. I mean, I've done 2 King Crimson tours, and we always rehearse more than the length of the tour.
Well,
Which is not true of other bands.
yeah.
Porcupine Tree, we hated rehearsing. We would probably never do more than 4 or 5 days.
Yeah. Full rehearsal though, all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
King Crimson, we did 7 weeks of rehearsal. But it's hard stuff, really difficult, complicated stuff. And I don't want to be on stage with
the
music,
paper.
paper, so I really had to learn the songs.
Yeah.
It was tough. It's very interesting actually. It's an interesting challenge.
Yeah.
I like to solve problems.
Yeah.
I think it's always good to have a good teacher. You can waste a lot of time, and I'm sure I wasted thousands of hours of time just messing around doing nothing. I'm sure every drummer does.
Oh yeah.
So it's good if you've got a teacher. It's hard to find the right teacher. I got lucky with a few teachers. One guy, I had a lesson with him in 1980. His name was Dave Cutler. And he showed me a system that he learnt in Berklee School of Music. He was studying with Keith Copeland, showing him the Alan Dawson system of syncopation, and he studied with Gary Chaffee as well. And he showed me a lesson which I still practice now. It's really just coordination. As far as organising your practice time, you've got to be really disciplined, because it's, some days you set off with a book. Okay, page 1. It's very easy to get distracted.
Yeah.
Now, in 1990 and 1991, for 2 years, I decided that I wanted to really do some serious practice. I was already 27 years old, but I thought, it's come to this point in my life, I've really got to do some serious practice. So I rented a rehearsal room in my local town, but it was a small rehearsal place for local bands who only ever rehearse in the evening.
Yeah.
And the owner of the studio said, okay, you can have this studio for this much money, not much money, but a little bit of money, but you're on your own. I will open the studio for you at 9:30, and then I'll lock the door, and I will come back at 5:30 and open the door. I mean, I could go out through the fire escape if I wanted to. It wasn't like
a prison.
But you know what? It was a little bit like a prison. And it was great because there was no phone, there was no mobile phone, there was no internet, there was nothing. I was really on my own in a building, completely on my own. So, I was paying for the room. It motivated me to get out of bed and go and do it.
Yeah.
And I practiced 3 hours in the morning. I went up the fire escape and came out for lunch for an hour just to rest my ears, really.
Yeah,
And then I went back down and I did another 3 hours, Monday to Friday, 5 days a week. And I got into it, and in the evenings back at my house, I would listen to the recordings. I would record myself a lot. I think towards the end, I even borrowed a little camera, this VHS camera, which was very useful.
Yeah.
I like, economic movement, ergonomic movement,
Yeah.
and graceful movements. When it looks stiff, it normally sounds stiff, right? You can learn a lot by just watching yourself play, because probably you don't realise what it looks like. And you can learn a lot about movement and wasted movement or graceful movement. When you see guys like Omar Hakim or Manu Katché, even with the sound off, you can tell these guys are great.
Yeah.
Right? And I was fascinated by that, so I filmed. So in the evenings I would go home, I would watch what I filmed, or mostly I would listen to what I recorded and make notes and decide what I should practice the next day.
Yeah.
Some of it was improvising, some of it was playing the Ted Reed syncopation system, some of it was, just practicing one specific thing. Almost never was it about trying to play fast.
Yeah.
Really about control, trying to play both sticks exactly together.
Stick control.
Stick control. Especially if you can make both sticks play together and make them make them phase, right, when they're really close. Then you are in control of both of your arms. If you try to play together and it sounds like that, you're not in control, because you can still hear two notes. So there's a fundamental problem about the signals coming down this arm and the signal coming down this arm.
Yeah.
Why are they not perfectly together? And it's only when they're perfectly together that you understand that you're really calibrated, right? Because if they're not perfectly together, when you go dip, 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 really you're going dip, 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 a little bit, right? So you're not playing exactly what you're thinking. And that's where control works. And the way that you can coordinate the hi-hat and the snare drum and the bass drum and the things that should be together should really be together. You should try and get rid of the random stuff, which is the lack of control. So they were the kind of things that I would work on. Anything that would improve my timing, I would practice. Whatever it was, practice that, because that's the most useful thing. Control of your time is the thing that all the other musicians want. They don't care if you can play, 64th note quintuplets on the bass drum and a go-go bells, right? I've never met a bass player who wanted that.
Yeah.
What they really want is for you just to have really nice time. And if you can improve your time, that is the most, that would be the thing that would be the most valuable to you when you go out to work, play in bands, work with other musicians. The guys with really nice time are the ones that get employed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Play guitar. You'll meet more girls.
Yeah.
Well, really, the only tip is that you should do it because you love it. I didn't take up the drums to become famous, to meet girls, or get rich. If they are your motivations, you're bound to fail. Really, you have to love it. Because there's so many hard times where you play for no money, or you do terrible jobs in terrible situations. And if you really love it, then you'll get through it. If it's something you don't love, then those times will be too hard. And that's the same for any job. You've got to try to find a job that you really love, and you're happy to get out of bed and go to work, whatever the job is.
Yeah.
If you love driving a bus, then drive a bus. If it makes you happy, you should always measure success in happiness, not in numbers about money or album sales or how many people come to your concert. And some of the most successful people in the world, from a happiness scale, might be the guy driving the bus.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? Because if you're not happy doing what you're doing, you'll always be frustrated, and you'll always feel kind of, confused and irritated and grumpy because you're not on the front cover of a drum magazine, or you didn't win a drum poll. If those things are really important to you, then it's going to be really painful when you don't win, or someone else is on the front cover of the magazine, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of the things I did when I was young, the work situations, the work experience I had doesn't exist now, but it's different now. I'm not 16 now, so my situation is different. I can't tell you, go and play jazz rock in the pubs of London, because there's no jazz rock scene, and there's no pubs in London which have live bands anymore.
Really, yeah.
But there was when I was 16, so that's what I did. I was always very trying to improve. Always try to improve. And I don't think I feel different now than I did when I was 16, and I suspect when I'm 90 years old, I'll still feel the same. I could play better. And probably tonight I will say the same thing. It could be better. So I've got work to do. I've got practice to do.
Yeah.
Seriously.